This is my reaction video to investigation stories. We're gonna have a guest over here on the other side of the screen, and we are going to be giving updates and reactions to Puff Daddy's whole little situation, what he's going through, the illness that he wound up catching while he was behind bars, the conditions of going from billionaire lifestyle to only can spending $200 a month with your commissary. And you know, you're gonna be giving a lot of other people commissary and stuff like that too, bro. You're gonna be in there doing your due diligence on your society around you in the jailhouse, Diddy. And I, for once, if these allegations are true, because like I said, all this is alleged now. But I, for once, if all these allegations are true, Diddy, I don't feel you for that, bro. I'm sorry, I don't condone in that, bro. You know what I'm saying? I just can't get jiggy with a situation to where a man can get any grown woman in the world that he wants to do anything in the world that he would want her to do with just being a nice man with some money, and you want to turn around and you want to spice people's drinks and force people to do things under what they really want to do. Daddy, I don't feel you for that, bro. You know, that's what's up with a lot of you people who feel like you're privileged and other people are peasants, and you give them money and make them do tricks and stuff like that, things that you wouldn't do. But they said you was in the mix of a lot of that. You was letting people do you how you was having people get dead. But anyway, this is my reaction video to investigation stories. Like I said, there's going to be another narrator over here on this other side. He's going to be telling the story, and I'm going to be giving my reaction. My reaction video, fair use.
The prison infirmary confirmed Sean Diddy Combs was admitted in critical condition. His health is completely weakened. He doesn't eat, doesn't hydrate, and seems to have given up fighting. Now he faces the devastating effects of excessive drug use and overwhelming depression. How did one of music's biggest icons get to this point? What are nurses revealing about your physical and mental state? And what could this mean for his future?
Damn.
Stay until the end to understand all the details of this dark story. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more revelations and impactful stories. The nurse's report begins like this. When we heard that Sean Combs, aka Diddy, was being transferred to our prison, there was an inevitable buzz among us. After all, it's not every day that a global icon arrives here. But from the first moment, I knew he wasn't well. He walked through the infirmary door with a blank expression, something only those who work in this environment can immediately recognize. He was dealing with more than just the weight of prison. At first, he avoided any kind of interaction. Most inmates go through an adjustment period, but with him, it felt different. He didn't talk much, and when he did, it was almost always in a low, disconnected tone. The days passed, and his appearance began to change. He looked increasingly thin, with deep circles under his eyes that betrayed sleepless nights. I tried to talk to him a few times as
Now, this is actual events and conversations that was behind bars. So this guy right here, you know, not letting identity be known, but this guy that's narrating is actually going to be speaking on live events and conversations that's happening in the jailhouse. My reaction video, fair use.
I do with any inmate. I asked if he needed anything, if he was in pain, but he simply shook his head as if my words didn't even reach his mind. That's when I started to realize that isolation was taking a toll. The pressure of being here, the distance from his old life, and perhaps even the guilt. All of it was clearly weighing on him. As a nurse, I've seen a lot of people fall apart here, but something about him was different. It was as if he had lost the will to fight even before he started. Isolation not only cut him off from the outside world, but seemed to have stripped him of any desire to connect with others, even with himself. At first, it just seemed like common adaptive behavior. Many inmates upon arrival lose their appetite due to the emotional shock and hostile prison environment. But with Diddy, it didn't take long for us to realize it was something more serious. In the cafeteria, reports began to arrive. He wouldn't touch the food. Sometimes he would just pick up the tray to avoid attracting attention, but he would return it practically untouched. Other times, he didn't even bother leaving his cell at mealtime. For a man of his size, the impact was visible within a few days. The weight loss was quick and evident. When they brought him to the ward for the first time, I decided to ask him directly about his diet. He looked at me with an empty expression, as if he were lost in distant thoughts, and said,
Look, could you imagine you eating the best foods in the world to not being able to eat? Diddy once said he did a role for a movie and he had to go out and get a pair of drawers from like a dollar store or something like that, just to put the drawers on to make him feel like he was actually in that kind of feel. He's literally, this is a culture shock for him. He's in the cafeteria. The nurse is gonna ask him, what is your diet? So they can kind of get you on a diet, and he's finna give his reaction.
"Don't feel hungry." It's a phrase I've heard before, but the tone in which he said it, almost without emotion, left me worried. We decided to monitor it more closely. We also observed that he wasn't drinking enough water, which led to clear signs of dehydration, dry lips, dizziness, and even difficulty getting up. On the third day, he refused a full meal. I officially registered the situation as a critical case. The situation worsened when he began to complain of muscle weakness. He could barely walk to the infirmary, and when he arrived, he leaned on the walls as if he were fighting his own body. The picture was clear. He was refusing to take care of himself. One of the most memorable scenes happened when we tried to...
Man, I can kind of feel for what this guy going through. You know, just imagine the lifestyle that you were able to, and all of a sudden now you can't do nothing that you were able to do with the snap of your finger. You could have done anything in the world with the snap of your finger, bro, and you choose to do that, allegedly. Now, you're innocent until proven guilty, but they denied your bail package 3 times. The feds. Sounds like they already got what they want. Then they sound like all this big money that you got that you're able to do, witnesses fear for their life. We're going to continue to listen.
Offer a simple meal in the ward, just soup and bread, something light to ease the stomach. He looked at the tray for long seconds, but didn't touch anything. "It's no use," he muttered. "I don't feel like any of this makes a difference." Those words were not just about the food, but about his mental condition. It was at that moment that we had to act more firmly. He needed nutrients to survive, and we chose to start intravenous supplementation. Even so, his refusal to cooperate made the process exhausting for everyone. He wasn't just neglecting his diet, it looked like he was giving up on life. It was during the afternoon shift that everything happened. We received an urgent call from one of the guards. Diddy had passed out in his cell. When the team arrived, he was on the floor, pale, sweaty, and practically unconscious. His heartbeat was weak, and his breathing was irregular. We brought him to the infirmary as quickly as possible. As we placed him on the stretcher, I noticed how thin he was. His prison clothes, which were already loose, now seemed to be hanging off his body. The first priority was to stabilize him, but his vital signs were alarming. Extremely low blood pressure, clear signs of severe dehydration, and his skin was cold to the touch.
Now, unlike his case, it's not like the Y&W Melly case. It's not like the Young Thug case. is not televised. You know, different courtrooms have different procedures. So YNW Melly's in Florida, and like just the Casey Anthony case and cases in Florida, that they televise those cases. You're able to watch it on YouTube and stuff like that. Young Thug in Georgia, you're able to watch the courthouses in Georgia and stuff. So in New York, we're not able to see any of this. They don't allow certain. You got to have the sketch artist, so we're not able to lay eyes on Diddy to actually see what he's looking like. Same thing with young Lil Durk. When they shipped him from Florida, he would have been in the courthouses in Florida, but the case was a California case with the Lil Pab situation. So they shipped him to California. In California, there's not a lot of those, so you can't see the Crip Max and the Little Durks and stuff that's locked up, but in the NBA Young Boys and stuff. But let's continue, bro. P. Diddy, man, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for you if a lot of this stuff is alleged that you did, but you're innocent until proven guilty. So that's my reaction. Fair use.
Immediately decided to administer intravenous fluids. His body was in critical condition, and any delay could have irreversible consequences. As we connected the IV, his eyes opened for a brief moment. He looked confused, trying to focus on his surroundings, but soon passed out again. During the examination, we identified signs of hypotension and the beginning.
Could you imagine if any of that stuff that they said that he did was true? Like the setup with the Tupac stuff and all that. Could you imagine trying to unalive yourself? I'm sorry. Could you imagine trying to unalive yourself and he passed out? When he wake up, they say how he looked around at his surroundings. Him thinking in his mind Tupac is there, or Biggie there, or anybody that he did wrong to. Just, oh shit. Could you imagine that? It's not funny, but my reaction, man, fair use.
Were alarming. Extremely low blood pressure, clear signs of severe dehydration, and his skin was cold to the touch. We immediately decided to administer intravenous fluids. His body was in critical condition, and any delay could have irreversible consequences. As we connected the IV, his eyes opened for a brief moment. He looked confused, trying to focus on his surroundings, but soon passed out again. During the examination, we identified signs of hypotension and the beginning of hypoglycemia. I asked him, when he regained consciousness, if he had taken or used any substances that could have contributed to his condition. He shook his head slowly, but his blank stare indicated something deeper, a state of total apathy, as if he didn't care what was happening to his body. For protocol reasons, we collected samples for toxicological tests and confirmed what we already suspected. There were
Wow, here we go. Puff Daddy, you got to think about it. This man went to jail with a plan, because when he knew that they was coming for him, he went out there to New York where he knew they was gonna pick him up and all this and that. He had a bail package already together. This dude was prepared and still prepared. He put up a $50 million bail package plan, bruh, and the judge and them denied it. No. They looking at it like, you can go intimidate witnesses. You got the means to do whatever you want to do. We'll never see you again, bro. We let you out and you know you guilty. You're acting guilty now. You acting like, man, I'm caught. It's over with. You're not acting like a man that, man, y'all got me fucked up. I ain't do this shit. Nah, bro. And when the feds come get you and they denying $50 million bail plans, not once, not twice, but 3 times, brother. But he went to jail thinking, I'm finna get out. I'm finna bond out. They denied it. This is in the early part now. This was going on was the first bail denial. Wait till they deny the second and the third one. My reaction.
Would have contributed to his condition. He shook his head slowly, but his blank stare indicated something deeper, a state of total apathy, as if he didn't care what was happening to his body. For protocol reasons, we collected samples for toxicological tests and confirmed what we already suspected. There were residues of chemical substances in his body. He was likely using drugs as a way to numb emotional pain and escape reality. It was a dangerous cycle. His body was failing, but his mind seemed to have given up first. The team worked tirelessly to stabilize him that night. As we monitored him, the lights and sounds from the devices filled the room, creating a tense atmosphere. He remained unconscious for hours, with the serum and medications slowly bringing some balance to his weakened body. At the end of the shift, he began to regain consciousness, but was still too weak to speak. His eyes opened, but again that empty, hopeless look dominated his expression.
He wanted to die, man. This man wanted to die. He know all the stuff that's up against him that we don't know. He knows names that he's gonna have to tell, and he don't know what to do. Diddy is going through something that, you know, and this is, I hate to say, I'm a Tupac fan, and they sit down, he's been implicated in the Tupac murder. So just stories of how Diddy did Pac back then. I always remembered that, and I was like, man, Diddy on back then it was Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy on some bullshit, man. You know, that's what Pac fans used to say back then. But you know, time went on. Pac died. People got older, moved on, and stuff like that. And then when I realized I didn't really have a dog in the fight, I'm looking at this man like, bro, this man had just lost his life, bro. And he wants to kill it. He wants to unalive himself.
It was at that moment that I realized that we were not just dealing with a medical case. It was something much more complex, involving mental, emotional, and spiritual health. He needed more than treatments. I needed a reason to fight. After toxicological tests confirmed the presence of chemical substances in Diddy's body, the situation became even more delicate. It wasn't just a matter of malnutrition and dehydration. He was clearly using drugs, and this was worsening his physical and mental state. As a nurse, I have dealt with addiction cases before, but the combination of their history, public status, and emotional condition made it more challenging. He was confronted by medical staff. We asked him directly about the substances, but he avoided answering. He remained silent, looking at the ground, as if he were escaping from reality. It was clear he was using the drugs as a way to numb the pain he felt, but it was pushing his body to the limit. During the first few days in the ward, he demonstrated clear withdrawal symptoms. His hands were shaking, he was sweating excessively, and he complained of intense pain in his body, as well as an agitation that seemed...
Imagine doing millionaire party drugs and being able to do it every day. And when you're doing it every day, you don't feel those withdrawals, because as soon as you feel like you want some more, you just got access to get it. Now you're detoxing behind bars, fighting for your freedom. Man, this is a mental, psychological, all kind of, this man right here. But this is what all these guys, these big stars that be out here doing fraud with all the money in the world, go and do crazy stuff. This is what all of them go through when they go to jail, bro.
Unbearable. Sometimes he became restless to the point where he needed constant supervision to keep him from hurting himself. To deal with this, we had to introduce a detox protocol. It was an extremely difficult process, both for him and the team. We administer medications to alleviate withdrawal symptoms and monitor your vital signs constantly. He went through waves of lucidity and confusion. At times, he seemed to recognize the gravity of his situation, but soon he closed in on himself again. There was a defining moment that I will never forget. During one of these crises, he mumbled something that sounded like a cry for...
All right, sorry about that, y'all. I want y'all to hear this.
He closed in on himself again. There was a defining moment that I will never forget. During one of these crises, he mumbled something that sounded like a cry for help. "I don't know how to stop anymore," he said, his voice barely audible. It was a rare glimpse of the person behind the armor he'd built over the years, and it reinforced the severity of the problem. In addition to physical treatment, we tried to introduce sessions with the prison psychologist, but he resisted. His reluctance to open up was a major obstacle, and the team knew that without addressing the emotional root of the problem, any progress would be temporary. The worst part for me was realizing he was fighting this battle alone. Despite all the attention he might have received on the outside, here inside he was just a man facing his own demons, with no visible support or motivation to get out of this situation. It wasn't just his body that was collapsing, it was his soul. If there's one thing that was evident from the start, it was the devastating impact that prison had on Diddy's mental health.
Yeah, well, when you are a big time billionaire in America, catalog of music and producing, you have never had to witness this in your life. All of a sudden, so now you having to witness it in your life. And you're not witnessing it in your life in your 20s saying, okay, I can fight this and get. Nah, bro, you witnessing this. Diddy got to be pushing 60. And you're over 50. I'm 40. Diddy was about 15 years older than me. So Diddy got to be about 55, 56. You know, I'm 39, I should say. Diddy got to be about 55, pushing 60 years old is what I'm saying. But let's continue.
Arrived here as a famous man with a powerful public image, but little by little he began to become a shadow of himself. In the ward, what caught the most attention was the blank look. There was a deep sadness about him, something that goes beyond regret or frustration. It was as if he had given up, as if there was no longer any reason to fight. Even on the rare occasions when we tried to start a conversation, he avoided eye contact, responding only with murmurs or an almost imperceptible nod of the head. Isolation only...
Yeah, see, Diddy already know that nothing matters right now. There's nothing that was going on that can help him deal with what he's about to have to face. He wasn't prepared for this. They caught a billionaire without a plan B. They caught a billionaire without a plan B. They grabbed Diddy. Diddy automatically thought, man, I'm finna get a bail. They're going to let me bail because I surrendered. You know what I'm saying? I gave up a bail package, and I came in peace. I basically turned myself in. When I knew y'all was coming to get me, I could have left, but I went to where y'all was at and walked in that thing peacefully. He thought he was finna bail out. He thought he was only going to have to probably stay a night. That's why he had that bail package house mansion thing in Miami. He had to have something paid off. He went and paid that $50 million off. He paid that mansion off in Miami to help with that bail package. It was a $50 million bail package that he had on the table, that he had up. And he gave up his social medias and his passports. And they denied all that. Like, bro, I don't give a damn what you, bro, we got what we want, sir. Now go back there and have a seat. This is the same place where Epstein had, that situation happened. Where he's locked up right here.
Made things worse. He did not interact with other prisoners and preferred to stay in his cell for long periods without even going out for mandatory activities. This behavior led us to monitor him closely, worried about the risk of him trying something against himself. The few times he opened up, his words carried immense weight. "None of this matters anymore," he said in one of the darkest moments I've witnessed. It was clear he was sinking into a deep depression. He talked about regrets and seemed consumed by a sense of guilt, but at the same time, there was a barrier. He was unwilling or unable to accept help. We begin to notice physical signs associated with depression. In addition to weight loss, he had a hunched posture, as if he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. His speech was slow, almost slurred, and he spent much of his time lying down even when he was not physically exhausted. We tried to involve him in therapy sessions, but he was resistant. The psychologist reported that he avoided any conversation that required deep introspection, changing the subject, or simply remaining silent. It was
Yeah, he doesn't want to say anything that can tie him up with any kind of legal court situations. Well, in therapy, when he was behind bars, he said such and such, such and such. Oh, well, did you? And then he'll be in his right state of mind by the time the trial come. But this kind of trial could be 2 or 3 years. And if you got to sit behind bars that long before you don't, you face your fate, that can kind of bother you, bruh.
as if he had built a wall around himself, but at the same time, he seemed trapped inside it, without the strength to leave. What worried me most was that, despite all the medical and psychological efforts, he seemed to have no desire to get better. Depression is insidious, and in an environment like this, where loneliness and regret are amplified, it can become fatal if not treated properly. As we monitored his health, we knew we were dealing with something that went far beyond the physical. Diddy wasn't just sick, he was lost. And this was visible in every gesture, every word, or lack thereof. It was a grim reminder that sometimes the greatest challenge in prison is not the physical confinement, but the struggle within. Diddy is receiving treatment that mixes emergency approaches and continuous monitoring, but it is not a simple process. When he arrived at the ward in critical condition, our priority was to stabilize his body, which was already severely weakened. We immediately started IV fluids to combat dehydration and provide basic nutrients he wasn't getting. We also administer vitamin and mineral supplements to combat extreme malnutrition.
He was in there pouting. Hey, sneak me a Lortab. Hey, dude. Yeah, he was in there. He was in there doing what he was supposed to have been doing, yeah.
His body was in a state of collapse, and in such cases, any error in replacement could cause further damage. Therefore, we follow a strict protocol, gradually increasing the amount of nutrients to avoid complications, such as the so-called refeeding effect, which can be fatal in cases of prolonged starvation. But the biggest challenge was his resistance to treatment. Despite being clearly weakened, he refused to cooperate. There were times when he even refused to receive the serum or medications. On one occasion, he removed the needle from his arm, muttering something like, "It doesn't make any difference." This behavior forced us to maintain constant vigilance to ensure he did not harm himself.
It sounds to me, when he keeps saying it doesn't make any difference, is that y'all saving my life now. Either way, it's going to end. If I tell a lot of stuff that I can't tell, I could possibly be unalived behind secrets that I know that I got to tell. Or am I going to give my life away for holding secrets? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if y'all save me now. I got to go face this. It's things that I can't even tell y'all, bruh. I can't imagine what this dude is going through right now, bruh. We seen what happened to Epstein. We seen what happened to Aaron Hernandez. Yeah. There was a lot of people that unalived themselves, stars that got time, wound up having to do some time and unalive themselves. Shout out to YNW Melly, holding on strong. Yeah. He holding on strong, bruh. And he facing the needle penalty. Yeah.
Additionally, due to signs of drug use, we begin a controlled detox process. This involved administering medication to alleviate withdrawal symptoms such as nausea, tremors, and body aches. It was a painful process to watch. He alternated between moments of lucidity and intense crises, where he seemed to fight against himself. Psychological support was also integrated into the treatment. Although he showed resistance, we insisted on regular sessions with the prison psychologist. We know that addressing mental health is crucial to any recovery, especially in Diddy's case, where depression appears to be at the heart of his deterioration. Additionally, we are working to encourage you to resume a minimal routine. Small steps, such as leaving the cell for a walk or accepting a light meal, are significant victories in this context.
Yeah, like if you can do something out of what you haven't been doing, that can cause you to fatally be out, just have something to look forward to. You know what I'm saying? Like a meal, or, to have something to look forward to keeps you going in life. Looking forward to something that keeps you going, that keeps you inspired and motivated to keep going. And just small little daily things that you look forward to doing every day, and in his situation, there's not much you can do, but just the smallest thing to break you from just laying down all day.
Still, progress has been slow, and its constant reluctance is an obstacle we all face daily. There are days when he seems to improve, where we get a glimpse of the strength he once had. But these moments are rare, and most of the time he remains stuck in this cycle of apathy and resistance. Treatment is being done, but without his will to fight, the results can only go so far. We are monitoring his condition closely, with regular checkups to assess his physical progress, but the real challenge is to rekindle a will to live in him, because without that, no treatment can really work.
Faith without works is dead. Man, Diddy, look, bruh, you're innocent until proven guilty. This is my reaction video, fair use. You guys can do your due diligence, man. This is the investigation crimes. Good stories over here, man. Good stories over here. This is one of those up all nighters, man. Just glancing through things that I find would inspire me and things that make me think like, what, nigga? I'm not finna do, nah, no sir, not about to, not going, can't. Y'all do me that big three, bro. Like, share, and subscribe.